Welcome to another episode of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? A place where authors and creators come together and tell us about their projects, tell us about their journey, and also, of course, they recommend books that's going to end up on your to read pile. So I'm so glad you're here. I'm your host, Karen E. Osborne, author of Getting It Right, Tangled Lies, a award-winning murder mystery, Reckonings. I'm sure she's going to get some awards at some point, and True Grace, which comes out in September. My guest today is Brooke French. Hey, Brooke.
Hi.
Welcome. We're glad you're here. So Brooke is going to tell us about her current book, but she's also going to probably want to share about her first one. But she has a new one coming out in just 2 days. It's called The Carolina Variant. And here's what one reviewer said: filled with compelling characters fighting not only for their lives, but humanity itself. You won't be able to put it down. Doesn't that sound good? Can't wait to hear about it. So, Brooke, in getting ready for this conversation, one of the things that I did is I went to your website, and you just struck me as a funny person. The comments you made and just even introducing yourself. I wanted to start by asking you what role humor plays when you're writing a suspenseful, scary novel. Where does humor fit in your writing and in your writing life?
So I think whether I'm writing characters or reading them, they are so much more interesting if they are multidimensional. So, having a villain just be scary isn't all that great. I mean, they're flat. You need to have something more. You need to have them be funny or witty or have some kernel of softness in them. And so I find that humor makes my writing better and certainly makes me enjoy the stories that I read so much more.
Yeah, yeah. And also, we writers have to keep our sense of humor because all those rejections and all those
Yeah,
rewrites, and if we don't keep our sense
that's
of
true.
humor, we would not
That's
be happy either, right?
true. Absolutely.
So I was recently speaking to a class of 4 different classes of 11 and 12-year-olds. So I had 4 conversations with a group of 11 and 12-year-olds. And each one of them wanted to know, how long does it take to write a book? So I asked them, what do you guys think? The shortest one was 2 weeks. And the
Ambitious.
longest, right? Whoa. And the longest one was 4 years. So where did you fall in between 2 weeks and 4 years?
So for the book that's about to come out, it took me 18 months. This is my second book to be published, but it's the first one I wrote. And so in the beginning, I was learning how to write, and I think that process added some time. And then I'm a recovering lawyer who writes books about science. And so I do a lot of research. I have to really dig into it, and that takes a lot of time. So this book, The Carolina Variant, took me 18 months.
Can you show us the cover of that one?
Yeah. So this is The Carolina Variant. It's the one that's about to come out.
Yes.
Super excited about it. And then the book that came out last September, which is called Inhuman Acts. Here she is. This one took me a year, which was a little faster than I think I'll do the next one, because again, the science and the one that I'm writing now is pretty complicated. So there's a lot of research, and that's going to take me more time for this next one.
Yeah, well, you're going to have to tell us about that, but we want to hear about the other ones first. But I want to hear about the one that you're writing now. So tell us about the premise of the book, that the Carolina Variant, that's going to drop in just 2 days.
Yeah. So, I think like most authors, I really struggle to bring the whole book down into a nutshell, but I'll try to fit it in there and do it in just a couple sentences for you. So the Carolina Variant is about a young lawyer, Tess Oliver, who discovers an encoded document in a defendant's safety deposit box. And there's a number scrawled on it she thinks might be a phone number. She calls it. Her call's answered by a pilot in a downed plane who has a virus seeping from cargo in the back. When he's taken to Atlanta by rescuers, the virus goes with him. And the document that Tess has is the only thing that could stop an outbreak from spreading if the virus or the people who created it don't get to Tess first. So that's the Carolina variant.
Yes, that is wow, that sounds very exciting.
Oh, thanks.
What is she like? What is Tess like?
Tess, so because it was my first book, I think she's more similar to me because, you know, you're starting out, you model it on what you know. So she's a young lawyer, which is my background. I would say, unlike me, she's very messy. She's more of she's a little more free spirited than I am. I tend to be pretty A-type. But yeah, you know, she's just doing her best in a world that's falling apart around her. And I like to write characters that I feel are human, that are flawed, that are fun. And I think Tess is all of those things.
Wow, that sounds really good. So here you are, 2 days from launch.
Yeah.
What's going on? How did you prepare for your launch? What kind of cool things are happening or not?
I mean, it's a whirlwind, you know, you've worked so long for something. And I think there's so much excitement leading up to it because this is my baby and this is my first book baby too. So this is the one that still feels like it's a part of myself kind of pushing out into the world. And let's see, we're doing a small launch party for this, some bookstagram tours, book clubs, we're doing some giveaways. So, you know, all of the normal things leading up to launch. Just really excited, especially to see it in people's hands, because I mean, what a dream come true to have people enjoying your work, hopefully enjoying it.
That's what I love about book clubs. You know, I love all readers, you know, meeting them and, you know, at different events and things like that. But there's something so special about meeting with a book club where everybody has read your book and hearing them talk about your characters as if they were real people, which they are. And so, you know, but for someone else besides us to think they're real people. So I know book clubs are just like the best.
It is
And
the best.
yes, and you guys who are watching, if you would like to invite Brooke to a book club on Zoom or in person, she's going to tell you in a little bit about how you can be in touch with her.
Yeah, definitely.
So I read also when I was researching you and your books that you were working on something and you mentioned it as we opened up. So what are you writing these days?
I am working on a sequel to the book, or the second in the series, that started with Inhuman Acts, which is this guy. I tentatively titled Inhuman Deception. We'll see. But that one is, I'm taking the main character who's a scientist. She's going into the Arctic. She has a colleague who's disappeared in the field, and she's going to pick up the project. And of course, the inhospitable environment won't be the only thing that's trying to get her. So it's a lot of fun, and the research for that one has been spectacular. I'm working with some doctors up at the University of Alaska Fairbanks doing research right now, and it's really cool stuff.
Yeah. So do you like? I don't like research. It's a bad thing. I like making up stuff, you know, just making things up. But we know we've got to anchor our made up stuff in real worlds. Do you research before you start writing? Do you research while you're writing, or both?
Both. I think because I write a lot of sciencey things and I don't have a science background, there's danger in plowing forward without knowing reality, without knowing what's possible, without knowing how a scientist would approach something. So usually the ideas I have for books are sparked by something I've read, you know, so I'm reading something and I think, oh, that's terrifying. And of course that lights me up because that's the kind of stuff that I like to read. And then I dig into it. So the book that I'm writing now began because I read that polar bears are one of the only creatures that think of humans as prey. So most bears don't really want to eat us. I mean, they don't really want to interact with us, but a polar bear sees you and thinks you look tasty. I mean,
Hmm.
they will stalk you. They're truly, truly terrifying creatures. And I thought, how cool. What can I do with that? So that's what launched me into this. And then I realized too, with science, it's very methodical. There is a method and there is a way that you do things. And so if I start drafting something without knowing what the right method is, then I'm going to get myself in trouble. So
Yeah.
I think it's the research is, I don't want to call it a necessary evil, because I do to some extent enjoy it. But it's certainly necessary for the kinds of things that I write.
Yeah, and it sounds like maybe your training as a lawyer, it might help you with that, because the lawyers have to research a lot too, don't you? You have to know how things work and you have to know the system and all of that. So it sounds like there's sort of something similar about being a
Yeah.
lawyer and being a scientist.
Yeah, that's very true. I think the writing is exceptionally different. So the writing you do as a lawyer is a lot more formulaic. I mean, there are you have to present a brief in a certain way. And as a
Mm.
writer, you have so much more creative space. And it's not that you don't need to meet certain expectations, because readers go in and they want the story to be structured well. Um, but you can do anything you want, I mean, even break the rules if you want to break the rules, but yeah. So the research part though, yeah, I think my background as a lawyer definitely helped.
Cool. That is cool. So what are you reading? What are you writing?
Yeah.
So we would love to be able to hear some recommendations that, besides reading her Brooke's two books, we would also like to hear what other books you might recommend.
Yeah, I have a lot of good recommendations. I'm obsessed right now with Julia Heberlin. I've been reading all of her stuff. The last one I read, I think, was Playing Dead, which I believe was her debut novel, which is insane because it's so good. And she is, I think the reason I like her so much is because she's really amazing at building characters that you like to read. I find it really
Mhm.
hard to read books that I don't like the character, and her characters always pull me in. She's also extraordinary at twists. You're getting
Mm.
two-thirds with her, you're like, what is that? I also love most everything by Riley Sager. I just finished Home Before Dark, which was excellent, excellent, excellent. So creepy. Um, and then The House Across the Lake is another one from Riley Sager that I read not long ago. And it too was just, I mean, the twist gave me whiplash. I did not see it coming. So those are
And
my recent favorites. I do on social media, if anybody wants to follow me, at the end of every month, I post a picture of the stack of what I read that month, and I, call out all of the favorites. So I'm glad to share that with anybody that wants to come take a look.
yeah, so that's a great opening. Could you tell our audience how they can follow you and be in touch with you?
Sure. Yeah. So my website is brookelfrench.com. You can find me on Facebook at Brooke.l.french, and then on Instagram at Brooke Lewis French. And I post in both places every month. So whichever is your preferred platform, that's where I am. Or you can come to my website.
And if we come to your website, will we find the links to the other things that you mentioned, your Instagram and all of that?
Yes, there are links to all my socials there, and then also a place to sign up for my newsletter if you'd like that. I am not a terribly frequent newsletter sender, so you won't get spammed all the time. But I do try to send some extras and updates and kind of give an inside glimpse into what's going on every now and then that way.
Sounds good. That sounds wonderful. Hope you guys have enjoyed as much as I have meeting Brooke L. French, and that you will, in 2 days, go buy her book.
Yeah,
Go,
that would be great.
go buy her book. You can find me at my website is KarenEosborne.com. The E matters. And because there's another Karen Osborne out there, more than one, writing away. So I am KarenEosborne.com. I have my YouTube channel. I have my Facebook author page. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. So you can find me as well. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope I'll see you next week on What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Bye, everybody.